Bonelab launched just over a year ago, and whilst it had some improvements over Boneworks, overall I thought it was a worse game and I didn't personally enjoy it. I made a separate video on this, but ultimately the story campaign was weak and it didn't make good use of the avatar system, which I actually really liked. Most of the comments were people telling me that it's all about the mod support and how it's Gmod for VR. So after a year, do the mods make the game fun? For me personally, not really. I tried out a lot of the highest rated mods, and here is what I found. There are currently over 6,000 mods, and they're separated into 3 categories. You've got levels, avatars, and spawnable items. The main things I was interested in were the levels. I love Half-Life Alyx mods because you get multiple hours of high quality campaigns that extend the gameplay. Bonelab has some of that, but overall it's disappointing. Let's start with the good stuff. There's a mod that is actually adding the entire Boneworks campaign into Bonelab. If you already own Boneworks, then it's not really that big of a deal, but for Quest owners who don't have a PC, they can finally play the game on a standalone headset. So far, over half of the game is now complete, with the tower, the best level of the game, being the latest part to be added. You do get the benefit of the improved gun handling, melee and avatar system from Bonelab, but the original game is still better. The Labworks mod has been made to work with the Quest, so it doesn't look as good, with lower resolution textures and some sections like in the sewers which aren't as dark. The AI can be a bit broken, but overall you get the full Boneworks experience on the Quest, and obviously you can download and play it on the PC if you own Bonelab but not Boneworks. There's a Five Nights at Freddy's mod that works just like the official VR game, with you sat in a security office looking through CCTV cameras and closing doors whilst managing power. Just like with the Boneworks mod, the main game is better, but if you don't own Five Nights at Freddy's and you do own Bonelab, it's a fun mod that gives you a little scare. The highest rated mod is a 7-Eleven mod. This is a convenience store with loads of secrets. There's an elevator at the back which you can take up or down, and I don't really want to spoil anything with this map, as it's best to go in blind and discover all the details that the map maker added for yourself. Modder, oh good job you, made 2 campaign style levels, Chamber 1 and Hell's Reach. These are actually both well made, but this is where you start to realise how terrible the AI is, and unfortunately, until Stress Level 0 opens up their SDK to give modders more control, these campaign mods are always going to be pretty broken. In Chamber 2, I can stand in a room with these Omni enemies, and I have to be pretty much right in front of them to get them to even attack me, and they can also get stuck in the scenery. In Hell's Reach, it's the same thing. You can walk into a room full of enemies, and they don't seem to be able to see you. Sometimes they even stand there shooting through walls. There's a level called Enter the Void, which has got a really cool introduction, but the level has the same problem. Enemies just stand there and don't really do anything. Some of the levels are really basic, like the Warehouse Wipe level, where you go into a building and eliminate a few unresponsive dumb enemies. Nightclub, another very short level where you go into a nightclub, kill some baddies and get to the end. It's all very basic, kind of broken, and ultimately not very fun. One of the biggest mods is Fusion, a mod that adds multiplayer, allowing you to play with friends. You can play through the entire campaign, as well as mess around in sandbox style, and there are some PvP levels. It's the best mod to inject some fun into the game, and if you like messing around with friends with physics stuff, then it can be fun, but if you want to do PvP stuff, or even do some co-op stuff, there are better alternatives with games like Pavlov and Contractors. For example, there's a COD's zombie level, where you earn points, buy weapons, and open up new areas. It's impressive that someone's been able to take the limited SDK and created something like this, but it's got some problems. Mostly, yet again, it's with the AI. They fall down on their own, they get stuck in the level, and they're generally poor to fight. You also can view your points on your left wrist, but it's a real pain to get them to show. Like I said, Pavlov and Contractors have got multiple COD levels with a much more fleshed out system, and it all works extremely well, so why bother messing with Fusion and play a shittier version on Bonelab? Fusion does make some maps fun, like a water park level, where you and your mates can slide around, probably getting motion sick. There are a bunch of go-kart tracks, including some Mario Kart ones. I'm not a massive fan of the way the go-karts handle, but racing with your friends makes it way more fun. Most of the levels are just empty levels though, that rely on you spawning things in and making your own fun. Like a Last of Us level, which is tiny, and has got literally nothing in it. Spawnables are quite literally objects that you can spawn into levels to mess around with. Rexmech has a couple of mod packs, one with a bunch of real life weapons, including a really powerful revolver. This can be tricky to reload as you need to get the bullet right next to the gun, and I found that I was hitting my controllers together to do it. This is avatar specific, so some avatars work okay and some don't. There are some semi-auto pistols, full auto rifles, and this light machine gun. Again, the reloads aren't the best, and they can be a bit janky. Like with the light machine gun, it requires you to manually load the belt from the top, and I would struggle to grab the correct part of the gun. There's also the same thing for a bolt action rifle, where they really need to make a better system for the guns. Most VR games have grip for grabbing the handle or foregrip, and then trigger to manipulate the charge handles or bolts, as this makes it much more reliable to grab the part of the gun that you want. There's also an attachment mod, which lets you put on a laser sights and different iron sights on some of the weapons. I also downloaded a bunch of stuff to try, but no matter how hard I searched through the spawn tool, I couldn't find them, like a Half-Life 2 NPC mod, a flyable Black Hawk helicopter, amongst others. I'm not sure if some updates to Bonelab just broke these mods, but just trying to find this stuff to spawn it and use it was a pain. The other part of the mods, and over half of the mods available, are avatar replacements. Bonelab has got a great avatar system where you can switch on the fly, and each avatar has got different strength, speed and climbing abilities. There are currently over 3,000 custom avatars, so if you can think of something, it's probably there. Here are some that I downloaded and tested out. There's a Terminator Endoskeletons avatar pack, which has got a few different versions from the movies. There's a really good Boba Fett avatar. There's a Doomslayer mod, which actually comes with an avatar, an NPC and some Doom weapons like the super shotgun. There's also a big chain gun which is so powerful you can actually fire downwards and fly into the air. You have Homelander from The Boys. You've got Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite. You can also spawn her in as an NPC and she follows you, but the animations are really bad, and just like the regular AI, she struggles with hills. There's a really good Aliens avatar, which includes Ellen Ripley and the Power Loader. Unfortunately, this isn't fully functional, which is because of the limited SDK for Bonelab, so modders can't really do much. This is why you don't have a rocket pack or wrist rockets with Boba Fett, or the ability to shoot out webs and swing with Spider-Man. There are some that really play with scale, like the Iron Giant mod that makes you massive, or the Teddy from Boneworks that makes you tiny. The avatars are really cool, and are especially fun with the Fusion multiplayer mod, so you can change your appearance when messing around with your friends. But the lack of support from Stress Level 0 after launch is disappointing, and this has severely limited what the modders can achieve. I went into making this video as a positive. I wanted to highlight the best mods for Bonelab, but it became very clear that the mods and mod support is just too limited. Personally, I was hoping for some really good single player campaign levels, which would realise the potential of the avatar system and create some great levels to really make use of that framework that Stress Level 0 built, but that hasn't happened. All we have is a bunch of random mods. A lot of them are old and haven't been updated, so they don't really work anymore. The AI is a huge problem with this game. It's poor in the main game, which I covered in detail in a separate video, but it's just straight up broken in mod levels, and the developers really need to focus on improving it for whatever game they're working on next, because it really ruins the overall gunplay and melee combat. I think if you like just messing around in a sandbox, especially with friends, there's some fun to be had, but overall it's massively disappointing for me personally, and after over a year we still haven't had much in the way of updates from the developer, so it seems that this is as good as it's going to get. If you do enjoy Bonelab mods, let me know in the comments and post links to the mods that you think are the best and that people should check out. As always, a massive thanks to my Patreons and YouTube members for your ongoing support.